Hello everyone, my name is Chase Chappell and this is Module 7, Ad Research. Some of the things we're going to be covering today in Module 7 is going to be how we're going to research ads and the ways we're going to be able to create them, ways we can use Facebook and Instagram ad success stories to our advantage to be able to identify proven winning ads, proven winning audiences, and proven strategies, so that way we don't have to reinvent the wheel and we can essentially just improve upon it. The next thing we're going to be covering is looking at competitor Facebook ads, and you can do that through a library tool where you can go and scope out other competition or people in your industry. And then number 4, website analysis, because even if we follow the best Facebook ad strategies, if your website is not in tune or optimized, that is a big piece that can also help lift the overall results. So here's our research list. And what we're going to do is we're going to first start with just looking at the Facebook business success stories. And once you click on this link, it'll take you to the Facebook business success stories. And all you're going to do is find somebody that's in your industry or someone that is selling something similar to you, whether it's a product or a service. And for today's example, I'm just going to say that we're selling socks, and we're going to find brands that are similar to us where we're selling socks. So what you can do is you can organize these filters if you would like. If you want to go for conversions, you would just select website conversions. If you choose your industry, let's say you're in e-commerce, you would just choose e-commerce. And then let's say that you wanted to look at ads specific to a placement, you can choose that as well. But for today's example, once again, I'm going to say we're selling socks, and so we're going to look for brands that are selling socks. So we could type in the word socks, and we have a few brands that popped up. We have Snox, it looks like baby care. So there's a few different brands here that we could look at. Bombas, so we might check out Bombas to see what they're doing. Q4 is coming up, so let's go ahead and click on this one. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is really check to see exactly what the success metrics are. In this case, they got a 40% higher return on ad spend with stories. That's a positive metric. Anything to do with return on ad spend and an ROI, that's a really good sign because the ultimate goal here would be to get a return on your investment. Now, as for brands that might have information on like their brand awareness, now if you're working with a large brand that is focused on brand awareness, wonderful. That's a great success story to look at. But if you're not really worried too much about your brand awareness and you're really just looking to get an ROI, start to pay attention to the metrics that talk about return on ad spend, lower cost, and the conversion rates. And so Bombas does have these 3 things, and that's really good. And then we also want to pay really fine detail to these things. We don't want to just scan and just like go over everything. We got to make sure we read through it all. So one of those first things we look at is like, this is a campaign that they are increasing holiday gift sales for. This isn't a year-round evergreen campaign. And they're testing video ads. This doesn't mean that they didn't run image ads. This just means that they did a test strictly about video ads for the success story. So that doesn't mean that you need to just only go create videos. So make sure you pay attention to these keywords when you're reading through this and know exactly what these things mean. Stories placement means they ran these video ads on stories during the holidays and got a higher lift. So now we understand the story. Let's continue going down. So they're focused on their apparel brand. Their mission is to help those in need. They started the company after learning that most socks was the most requested clothing item at a homeless shelter. So it looks like they have, an ethical stance here where they're trying to help the homeless. And so they ended up developing a product. Let's see, okay. And while giving back, okay, so the goal for them would be to, also highlight these things because it gives another reason for somebody to might relate to the brand and want to make a purchase because they feel they're helping somebody through buying through Bombas. So let's continue going down. Bombas wanted to run ads and stories to understand how well this individual placement could drive online gift purchases over the winter holidays. All right. And then so this is during 2019. So this is a key thing here. Now, the reason we want to pay attention to the date that this was ran is because there's so much that changes on Facebook in any given year that, if this was ran in 2019, the same strategies or, the algorithms might have changed and so forth. So iOS 14, iOS 15, and future updates that can affect these types of things. So you got to take some of these results with a grain of salt, given that this was in 2019. Really, we want to find success stories that are really relevant in the sense that they were recently created within a year time frame or a few months. Even a few weeks would be wonderful. But nonetheless, we'll continue going down just to check out the rest of this information. So they ran it in the stories placement to capture more attention because they want to take up the full screen. And it's going to show you the actual ad here specifically. And they're going to talk about what they did during, how they set it up. So they ended up letting Facebook's machine learning randomly deliver ads. So they probably allowed it to be automatic placements, and they had more of an open audience, it looks like. After a number of conversions, the system begins to identify how to optimize. So essentially, it sounds like right here what they're trying to do is get out of learning phase. And then they continue to test and learn what works as the campaign will continue to evolve. So essentially what they're doing here is they're testing different creative styles, and this is just one of them that, they used. And then Bombas first created a separate ad set for the stories placement and optimized towards one-day click and one-day view. Okay, so this is an important thing right here. They ended up selecting stories only placement and only did one-day click or one-day view. Now, rather than just going out and creating this exact same style, let's take the context at which this is in. This is during a holiday, so a one-day click, the buying intent is extremely high during the holidays. So you can get away with a high volume of purchases within one day and use that data to optimize. Whereas like in, summer, people might not necessarily be thinking about purchasing socks as much. So therefore, a 7-day click window, people might need to see ads or be convinced a little bit longer, or, need some more time to make a purchase decision. Whereas during the holidays, it's very reasonable to assume that, they might be buying for their family, friends, cousins, sisters, brothers, mothers, or anybody that, might need a pair of socks, or they might even want some, right? Could be a stocking stuffer, could be a lot of different scenarios here. So the intent is very high. So it makes sense that they would do a one-day click or a one-day view. And that's why it says within the first 24 hours of seeing the ad. And then it says that the stories had typically skewed toward view-through conversions in the past, allowing Facebook's algorithm to optimize for people who saw an ad for a product and bought it without ever clicking the ad. Okay, so essentially what they're doing is, this is also in part brand awareness or like action-based intent, where they're showing this specific story, and what's happening is people are viewing it, they're not swiping up, but what they're doing is they're seeing it so many times or so frequently, they're searching Bombas on Google and they're making the purchase, and it's still getting attributed to Facebook, because even though they didn't click, but because they saw it and they're using that one-day view, as long as they viewed it and went to Google and purchased, then Facebook's still getting the actual conversion, and it's still optimizing. So that's the insight there, so that way you have the full context and story of how that works. And so by optimizing towards both clicks and view, Bombas achieved enough optimized conversions to get out of the learning phase. Okay, so essentially they're taking both the conversions that they're getting from search and people like seeing these and then purchasing, as well as like people who are clicking, so that way they had enough data. All right, so now as we go down, they said that it's time to scale up, so they shifted more spend to the stories only ad set. Not only did this ad set get more reach, more people, but since the cost per action was well below Bombas' account average, it also improved the brand's overall marketing efficiency. Okay, so, one thing that they're doing is it looks like they're running a special sale here, where they're also talking about like each day of the week that they could wear a pair of socks, another video, and they're just ramping up the marketing spend since they're getting a good cost, which is good. And then during that campaign, Bombas ran video ads showing festive winter holiday scenes, such as people decorating trees and wrapping gifts. Makes sense that they're trying to be as relevant during this period as possible. And then they built the ads following mobile-first best practices because it's full screen. And then they featured brand elements using text overlays that made the action understandable. So here's the text overlays, right? So they're associating the socks with the day of the week, which means that, people are already getting in the frame of mind that they might purchase more than one pair of socks. And they're optimizing for the Shop Now button, so that's good. And then they're also making sure that there's text overlays, so that way people understand what it is without, viewing with their sound on. So because of this, like, we're not hearing the volume right now, but we're obviously getting the idea of what they're going for. So that's another important thing. And they had a little bit more of a direct call to action there, where it said swipe up on the shop now. So that's one of those features that have been disabled on Instagram and Facebook now. So like those swipe up features are no longer. It's more of a button click now. So that's another thing, which is why it's really important that you pay attention to these timeframes, because this says swipe and that's no longer a feature. And so next thing we're looking at is they did the broad audience of US adults age 18 and over. And so this is a big thing a lot of people miss. The open broad audiences are really key here for allowing things to get the most number of sales and most optimizations possible, because Facebook's system really does a big bulk of the lifting for you. And they use the automatic advanced matching, which we covered in the last module, and they also attributed online sales back to specific purchasers, which this is what helped do that. And so you should already have a broad audience. You should have automatic advanced matching. We covered those things. And you should have the, attribution setup windows, so that way you can get the accurate results attributed from these things we set up. And so we'll continue down. It gives us the exact time frame that they ran it. They ran it during a highly relevant period for people purchasing and having a very high intent, so that way they could get their items before the holidays. They had a 46% higher return on ad spend, 34% lower cost, and a 2.4x higher conversion rate. And here it highlights some of the things they did: video ads, ads and stories, mainly on Instagram, Facebook Pixel, and the automatic advanced matching. And then they're putting stories as the single biggest growth area in 2020 with a 600% year-over-year growth rate. So they're really putting a lot more emphasis there for 2020 and so forth. So that's just some information on this. So some of the things we can conclude is the ads they're running currently, the things that, or the ads they've run in the past that were successful. Now, what we can do is we can go ahead and, add them in here, where we go ahead and put the business name, and this sheet is available in the modules, Bombas, and then we'll go ahead and go back to the ad library. Now that we've looked at the business success story, we'll go to the ad library and check out the ads they're running currently. So that way we can see exactly what's working for them right now. And so it looks like they're doing a partnership with Disney. Okay. We'll scroll down, still focusing on the homeless shelters, except it looks to be a little bit more of an evergreen creative. Socks are the number one most requested item. So essentially they're retelling their story. And now they're introducing other potential items people can purchase. And then there you have a specific offer at the end. So that's a pretty good ad, and they're still focusing on stories, even like they were talking about in the past. So we know it's working for them still. This looks like a retargeting ad, because there's never been a better time to upgrade your socks. So this is people who have probably added to cart, and it's showing them a dynamic ad based off of the item they added to cart. So here's where you can start putting and compiling your research and using this information. So this could be, your retargeting ad example. And we could come in here and we could honestly say cold audience retargeting ad. We can add in these things here, where we literally come in here and we go to see ad details. And here's an example that we can take and then link it in here. So that way we have some of this stuff to access later on after we've done all of our research, to look back and see exactly what makes the most sense to use. So now we have a retargeting ad example, because they're talking about their first purchase. They have a coupon code, and they're calling out the exact product name, which is really important, and they're offering the lifetime guarantee and 100% refund. Basically just trying to break all barriers for somebody to make a purchase. Let's go ahead and hit shop now. And now that we're on their site, you want to make sure that the exact product you're showing is taking them to the exact item on the site. You don't want to show them red, or, I guess this color is called fig, but you don't want to show them a different sock color than the one on your ad. You want to show them the exact one, because that's going to increase the conversion rate, right? And then it looks like they have a few more images just to show some examples. Once again, the most important one is just showing the blank version of the product. That's going to increase your conversions for sure, based off of all the research and data that we have access to, and just showing, allowing you to get a much higher conversion rate, because it literally focuses on the exact product. So that's really important. And now They also have this call out, which is the one purchase, one donated. So this messaging is really carrying from all their other messaging, which is really important to pay attention to. So the price is $19 for this, this one pair of sock. And if we use Comfort 20, we can get 20% off. But we also get free shipping if it's over 50. So let's go ahead and add to bag and see what happens. Okay, shows us that we're $31 away, which might make people want to purchase a few more just to make sure they get past that specific one. So there's our retargeting ad. Let's go ahead and continue back through their ad library and look for some more. This looks like a TikTok ad that they transferred over to Facebook. And so there must be some, this one isn't as well optimized for the specific sound off variable, but it does have some text overlays so some people can get somewhat of an idea. Once again, these are those retargeting ads. That looks like just a specific cold ad, which could be a really cool ad. It's a video gift style creative. Say hello to your new favorite slipper sock, okay? And then more slippier than a sock, more sockier than a slipper, more comfy than anything you've ever worn around the house. That's pretty direct and fun at the same time. So that could be, you could be really playful with the ad. That's really engaging. That can really help people stop in the actual feed, and it's fun. It also is very just focused on the product itself. So they're describing it all while explaining what it is as a product and giving you the benefits and explaining the use cases within 2 lines. Slippier than a sock, right? Because people slide around in their house. And then also slipper, meaning like slippers, right? And then more sockier than a slipper. So they're known for socks. And so that means it could be the comfy aspect that they're throwing in here. And then they also double that up with saying it's more comfy than anything you've ever worn around the house. So it says it's direct, playful, and they found a really quick way to get all this information. Some people give like multiple paragraphs just trying to explain their product. Like, honestly, if you can't explain what it is that you're selling in like 2 lines, then you got to rethink what you're selling, or like exactly what you're going to say when you're selling something. Because you need to be able to be very clear and concise in these ads. Not only that, but another thing is like, one, their branding is here, so you know exactly that you've made it to their site. You know that's their product. They're calling out the exact item itself, the slippers, so that way you're 100% positive what these are. These aren't socks, these are slippers. They're reconfirming that here. And then they're saying it's a slipper sock, right? The new favorite. So you hit shop now and you go to the specific collection, all right, of those products. And so when people click on these, it has those, specific ones, right? So that's another thing, is just making sure that the ad is very direct and calling out what it is that they're offering. And because they're showing different colors, that's why it's going to the collection, right? So that could be another one, an example for the cold that you could end up adding in here. And you can continue to go through and find some more and just keep the overall Facebook ad library in here so that way you have access to it. And then audiences, you can pull that from what they were doing here. They were going after broad audience of US 18 and over. So that's one audience, just so you have that information. And then the creative type was stories, and then dynamic retargeting ads. And then for the website, you can add in their website, so that way you can refer back to see exactly what, is making their site convert, and really compare that to, exactly what you're doing. So you have a good idea of like what's converting out there and what items are really working the best, right? So let's go ahead and add in the website. And then the monthly rev, if you go to the module sheet and you click on website analysis tool, there's going to be something called store leads app. And when you get to this page, all you do is just search the brand that you're looking for. Ours is going to be Bombas. It looks like it pulled up. So we just click on that one, and it's going to tell us what their estimated sales are on a monthly basis. It looks like theirs is 8.7 million, which is absolutely incredible. So that's, really good to know, because that means whatever they're doing, it's absolutely working. And just based off of the research we've done, they've really honed in their marketing. They're focusing on the specific placements that they know are really converting best. They have, high funnel, low funnel, and they have their offer tuned in, they have their messaging, their story lined, and they've really gotten super specific on the direct callouts in their ads. So that's one business that we've done some research on, and we can even go to the case studies on Instagram and see if we can find some more stock brands as well, right? So these are the tools that we can use to gain access and learn from exactly what's working best in our specific industry, and have a really good idea of both what their revenue is and even learning exactly what apps they're using on their site. So, we can find out that they have Amazon Pay installed, Apple Pay installed. Those are going to help increase conversions because it's more ways for somebody to pay. They're using the Pixel Analytics. They're using PayPal. That's another way for people to purchase. And then they also have customer reviews, so that way they can increase that. Loyalty programs, referrals. These are all little things that add up to the bigger picture in terms of sales. If you don't have reviews, people might not trust what they're purchasing. They want to read and see if it is a quality product. The other things are, if there's not enough payment options, maybe people prefer PayPal or Apple Pay or Amazon. You got to give them enough options to allow them to make a purchase decision. These things allow you to increase your conversion rates and get a better return on ad spend on Facebook, because now more people who click through have more ways to make a purchase. And we can scroll up as well, and we can even look at the app changes over time, what they removed, what they added. So maybe something that didn't work for them, they got rid of. We can see their traffic. We can even see what themes they've used on Shopify. It looks like they're covering up their theme names, and they're making quite a few changes every single month. It looks like they're pretty consistently updating their site. So they're always improving, and they're always, updating it with relevant offers and holiday sales. So that's also an important factor. And it looks like their AOV is around $76. So they've really focused in on, making sure people are purchasing over 50, and they're providing enough items to where people can, literally probably just grab like one or two things to cart, and it's pushing them over that average order value. And so there's a lot of good information that we can pull just from, these research methods. We've learned a lot about their business. We've learned how they've grown. We've learned exactly what ads they're running. We've literally seen exactly what successfully worked for them in the past. We have, direct quotes from, their marketing department on what their strategies are and where they're going. We have information on audiences they use. We have the exact, types of ads they're running. We even knew what type of tracking they set up. And we also have exactly the apps that they're using on their site, what their AOVs are, what monthly revenue they've scaled up to, and the types of content that they're using. This is pretty much, their entire e-commerce business boiled down to the core elements of their marketing funnel. And this is really good insights for you to pull and really do a deep analysis on, people in your industry and competitors who are doing really well. This allows you to not have to spend your own money to learn exactly what's worked and, improve on your own over time. What you can do is really growth hack these things, get the information that works, and then build upon it, giving you a faster growth rate and accelerating your success metrics overall. And that's some of the important factors here we're talking about today. It's all about being data-driven and finding what works without having to waste money, and go based off of the science and information available to us today to make, conclude and have a sufficient amount of evidence that allows us to make sound decisions in our marketing efforts. So I hope you really enjoyed this specific ad research module. And just to highlight some few tips before we go, when you are researching, double check for the dates to make sure that you're not looking at outdated content. And if you are, get the full picture and timeline so that way you understand the relevance during that time period. And then check how long their ads have been running. If you're in their ad library, it'll tell you the dates. So, today is October 24th for us, but this ad was running on October 2nd, so that means it's been running for about 22 days. That's pretty average, but if you continue to scroll down, you'll see some of their ads go down to September 23rd. So it looks like their dynamic retargeting is obviously working over a longer period of time. So that's why they continue to run it. And then you can even see some of the inactive ads they have in the past. So that way you can see what they were doing and get a better idea of the timeline they've had over the course of, the years of running ads. And so that'll give you a good idea, and you get a good picture of all this information on their ads. And then check their monthly revenue, because if they're only doing like 8,000 in sales a month, well, that's not very great. It means they're very early on in this, startup stage of their business. But this company's doing 8 million in sales per month. That tells you that, the opportunity is there in the apparel space for socks, underwear, clothing to get up to those numbers, and you have all the information on what exactly it is that's converting for them. And then you can check to see what apps and services they are using, so that way you can get a good idea of what makes the most sense in terms of having those features that allow people to make better purchase decisions. It looks like they had a lot of ways for people to pay, and those are the insights that you need to make sound business decisions. So once again, I hope you did enjoy this module, and I will see you on the next one.